Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. In today's video I show how to sew these high-waisted wide leg pants with an elastic waist. There'll also be a video about this shirt. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Okay, let's start. As usual, I started with pre-washing and ironing my fabric. Then I laid it out and pinned the pattern pieces to it. Don't be confused by not pants pieces. I also cut the shirt parts all at the same time. Cut 2 front and 2 back pieces, 4 pockets and a waistband. Don't forget about the grain line. Then I strengthened pocket openings of the 2 front pieces with a fusible lightweight thread tape, starting by 1.5 cm lower and ending by 1.5 cm upper the opening marks. I also pulled the fabric with an iron slightly from a knee mark to the top at the inseam, and then the crotch seam at its curve to the side, as it is shown in the video. This is made for a better fitting. It is important to do this one and the same for each side. Pin all 4 pocket pieces to the pants front and back parts right sides inside. I also refreshed the pocket openings lower marks. Then stitch with a 1 cm seam allowance from the waistline to these marks. Cut the seam allowance not reaching the seam by 2 mm. Do so only at the pants front pieces. Press the seams flat and then iron the seam allowances away from the pocket to the previously made cut. Turn the remain of the seam allowance under the pocket opening to the right side. Turn the pocket inside and make a neat edge with your fingers. Press. Pin the front and back pieces together, all the pocket area right sides inside. Stitch twice. Hem the edges with an overlock. Iron the seams. Pin the pants side seams together, right sides inside. Stitch with a 1 cm seam allowance from the waistline to the upper pocket opening mark and then from the lower pocket opening mark and to the bottom. Then we are to hem the edges with an overlock, but in 2 steps. First, the seam allowance at the pants front part, and then the side seam allowance from the top to the bottom, like I show in the video. I iron the seams flat and then turn the seam allowance to the back piece. Be careful at the pocket opening area. Pin the inseams together, right sides inside, and stitch with a 1 cm seam allowance. Hem the edges with an overlock. Iron the seams flat and then turn the seam allowances to the front. Turn the left pant leg right side out and the right one wrong side out. Put one pant leg into another, right sides inside. Pin the crotch seam and stitch twice with a 1 cm seam allowance. Hem the edge with an overlock. Iron the seam flat and then turn the seam allowance to the right, and iron it again by 20 cm from the waistline at each side. Then I top stitched the pocket opening at its right front side, making a line of stitches 5 mm off the pocket opening's edge. Stitch back and forth several times at the pocket opening's upper and lower edges to strengthen it, just like that. Hide the excess threads. Iron the seams. Let's move on to the waistband. I draw a line 2 cm off one of the waistband's long edges. Then fold it by 2, wrong sides inside, and press. After that, I turn one edge to the previously made line and press. Pin the waistband's short edges together, right sides inside. Stitch with a 1 cm seam allowance, leaving a several centimeters opening at the center. We'll use it later to insert an elastic. Iron the seam flat and then iron it open. Pin the waistband's non-folded edge to the pants, connecting the marks. Stitch with a 1 cm seam allowance. Iron the seam flat and then iron the seam allowance to the waistband. Pin the waistband's folded edge to the pants, thus closing the previously made seam by 1 or 2 mm. Then secure it with hand stitches, removing the pins. Stitch in the ditch all the way round. Hide the excess threads. Iron the waistband. Take a 4 cm wide elastic band and mark the needed waist length, plus 2 cm for seam allowances, but don't cut the excess yet. Insert the elastic into our waistband with a safety pin. Pin the elastic at the needed waistline length and try the pants on. Increase the length if needed. I added several centimeters to it as I wanted my pants to be very comfortable to wear. After you are totally happy with the waistband's length, cut the excess elastic off. Place one edge on another and stitch. I made 3 parallel lines of stitches. Close the waistband opening with hand stitches. After that, distribute the waistband fabric evenly, stretching our elastic. I also pinned it in place in 4 places. Divide the waistband's width into 3 equal parts and make 2 parallel lines of machine stitches. Don't make my mistakes. I started stitching from the upper edge and then made a second seam at the waistband's lower edge and some extra fabric gathered there. If I started from the bottom and then proceeded to the top, The waistband could be a little bit wider, and there wasn't any inconvenience in that. Try the pants on again and decide on the trousers length. Cut off the excess material if needed, but remember to save 4 extra centimeters for hemming the bottom edge. I draw a line 8 centimeters off the edge and iron this edge to it. Then draw another line 2 centimeters off the edge and iron the edge to it, thus creating a neat closed edge. Pin the edge to the pants leg and then stitch 1 centimeter off the upper edge. Hide the excess threads and iron the seams flat. And that's it! Thank you very much for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!